Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaRakah double honors to the apostles and the elders of great most learned rule well. And Shalom to all the brothers doing the work of sharing the truth. Yeah, just gonna touch on, the writing on the wall. Because with this, it's something key you can just look to have as a reference for how, America's been marked. And it's essentially, it's destined to go down. Because with, all these different empires, it's, we go over it time and again. You have all these different nations where they rose, they fell. And, Israel's counted amongst that as well. Israel's basically had a time where they were set up. They had a time where they were in their power and they were, observing the laws righteously to an extent. But then there's been, there'll be a lapse. And then because of that lapse, then Jake opens up to being punished. And then, the heathen get raised up. So this is something that, is known intimately, as a Jake, as an Israelite. And then a lot of these, the thing with the scriptures is people in the modern day try and pretend that now, things aren't applicable from the scriptures. What's in the scriptures, like, oh, that was only for X amount of 1,000 years ago or whatever. You go into the modern time, of iPhones and TVs and airplanes and people sitting in a nest among the stars. They think, oh, now that the scriptures are relevant, but that's the beauty of it, is all those things are still within the bounds of the scriptures. So Daniel 5:22, it says, "And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, that though thou knewest this." And was basically being told about, his dad, Nebuchadnezzar, having his mind completely fried and frazzled, and then being sent out into the sticks to eat grass. When man he was essentially on top of the world for a period of time. He was the king of kings at a particular point in time. But then again, it's above that was, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Yahweh Hashem Yahushai was beyond that. But then what does it say? But hast thou lifted up against the Lord of heaven? No, but though thou knewest all this, thou okay, let me start from the top. And thou his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, though thou knewest all this, but hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them, and thou hast praised the gods of silver, and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the power in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified? Yeah. So you basically took, the vessels that were taken from the temple, and was using them to make merry, to have a party, to entertain, and giving glory to to idols. And that's, you go with the same things going down today. Because within this system, the new gods in the system is what science. That's really the new god that's worshipped, man. Science, and as they call it, like progress. Because they're more or less saying, like, oh, we're thinking, oh, we'll fly to Mars, we'll establish ourselves on Mars, or establish ourselves in in various supreme realms they're thinking of. But then what's the reality of it? Is those things have basically got a limit on it, and even all that progress, all that those miracles, the military might, everything, the technology, internet, 5G, smart cars, all these things are basically been established. For what? For the sake of prophecy. Just as everything that was established with the Babylonian Empire was what? So they could be a head of gold. But thou was praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified. And yeah, that's the key. Is who did you receive that kingdom by? Who did you receive that rulership by? Because that's what's always forgotten. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and his writing was written. And this is the writing that was written, many tekel ufasin. This is the interpretation of the thing, many. The Most High hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. So yeah, there was a limit set, there was a bound set, and that's been known. That's with all these kingdoms. Everyone had a time to rise and to fall. You go back to the statue, then it was basically translating from one kingdom to the other, and that's the part no one likes to to think about. That's what no one wants to glory in. That's what no one wants to meditate on. Is that it's moving from one kingdom to the next. The Most High have numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. So yeah, it's basically been set. It's the writing was literally on the wall to where it was inescapable. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So yeah, and then even after the proclamation was made, he still was like, okay, it's third ruler anointed him, but then it's with all that, what did it matter? Because the kingdom was done. And that's the thing when you hit the bounds, all that's within the range of it, it then ceases to have meaning. And then also with the swiftness of how the Medes took over, it's the same thing with how America's gonna go down. What does it say? In 1 hour. In 1 hour, it's gonna be taken out, man. It's gonna be done out. Because was it Job 14:5? It says, "Seeing his days are determined, the number whose months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass." And the key is all these things have been delivered, have been given, have been pieced off to Esau. And it's the same with all the kingdoms that came before. Same with Israel. We're waiting to receive a kingdom. We're joint heirs with Yahushua. Yahushua needs to receive his kingdom for us to have a chance to have a kingdom. And it's basically because the Most High decided, like, yo, okay, look, the promise has been made with this nation. These men are going to receive it. That's why. Because what does it say? And what he cannot pass. There's no means by which you can get beyond that limit. And you can see with all these prior kingdoms, you go to those lands. It's who's there. It's, imagine like Rome, which America's like the second leg of Rome. When you go back to the location of Rome, it's like those guys have nowhere near the same level of impact they once had. Even like culturally, anything, you can see that America's got the preeminence with all those things. Currently, it's around the world, everyone's maneuvering in the spirit of America. They're all completely in accord with the spirit of America. They're not, man ain't out here speaking no Latin, no Italiano. Man out here, it's whilst, even aspects of like Italy, like pizza and whatnot, is really because it's been pushed through American culture. It's the Italianos that went over to the Americas and set up there. That's really where the cultures come out from. Job 21:21. For what pleasure hath he in his house after him, when the number of his months is cut off in the midst? Yeah, what pleasure do you really have? Because you're thinking like, yo, you're established, but then what? There's a set point where it's all going to be cut off. Then there's no pleasure. It was the same with 2,000 years ago in 70 AD. Yeah, the wicked scribes and Pharisees, all them Jake doing the utmost to to remain in the land. But then what? There was a point where it was going to be done, man. It was going to be put on smash. Yahushua said, "What? Flee ye to the mountains." Those that didn't, they were toast. Them men were withered away in that siege, man. And then they would have been thinking like, damn, I wish I did flee to the mountains. All kinds of fruit. Psalm 75:6. For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor the west, nor from the south. But the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. And that's it. The promotion is something that's received from on high. We're basically looking at like, yo, the Most High wants to have things, set up a certain way or brought down, and that's really all that can be done. That's why it comes as far as it comes, why we can speak so boldly in prophecy, so boldly in this truth is because why? We're not speaking of our own actions, of our own capabilities. This is what Yahweh Shem Yahushai set up. He said, yo, that place is going to be built up. It's going to be taken down. It's going to be used like Egypt. It's the new example to be used, man, that land of the north. He putteth down one and setteth up another. For in the hand of the Lord Yahweh there is a cup, and the wine is red, it is full of mixture, and he poureth out the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. And yeah, the wicked have basically been set with, their duty, their job, their role is to drink them dregs, man. And that's the thing, is them dregs. Israel was originally not meant to. If they kept to the covenant, it would have been nothing but blessings. But then what? The creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly. So, whilst you have the desire to keep the law, the flesh, basically puts you in the chains where it can't be done. And, liberation from them chains, that's going to come with that new body, man, as spoken of in 1 Corinthians 15. But Lamentations 4:20, it says, what? The breath of our nostrils, the anointing of the Lord Yahweh, was taken in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we shall live among the heathen. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee, thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. Yeah, that cup's been passed on to what? The daughter of Edom, man. The chief prince at this present time, man. Those sons of Edom, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man's at his apex right now. He's basically being, dealt with like he's on the highest level. But then what? The cup's gonna pass through. Those dregs, man. You're gonna be made to drink it, and it's gonna be a spectacle to the whole earth. The whole earth that's basically looking with, like, wow. this man, he's so capable. He's, you know, so smart, so charming, so advanced. Everyone was living like fucking, you know, like cavemen basically. But then he came along, and that's really how a lot of people view it. But then what? The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. And yeah, that's, you know, there was a point where Jake had to hold those punishments. Jake had to be in that state. But then what? That was accomplished. To where it's not going to happen again. And that's the thing, is part of what Esau's trying to establish is a kingdom where that status quo, that state is maintained with Israel forever. They ain't gonna run. You're trying to, you know, bump heads against Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And we already know. It's already been said, like, you know, if you're trying to contend against the Most High, it's ridiculous. Even for Israel, it's like, blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed is he that curseth thee. Trying to curse Israel, it's going to rebound. Because why? The only opening there is when Israel's not following the laws, and then we're going to be perfected. So there's no way that God can just come out after 1,000 years and then just choke slam us, you know, back into captivity. whilst we've been perfected. So Daniel 4:17 says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. So yeah, the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. It's just as if you know, the same level of authority. If I was to write a story and I'm like, you know what, I want to have the protagonist, I want to have his parents die, and then that sets him up for his little story. Then, you know, 10 years down the line, he gets established and he gets a kingdom, and then he gets to rule after. That's, you know, no one's gonna have authority over that. That's the same thing. You see, how about Shem Yahushua has basically got it set so he basically can have things play out how he desires, man. You know, we're in that theater. We're actors on the stage, man. We have our roles to play. We receive instruction, we follow it, and that's how it plays out. Which is why the Most High set up one, and then give it to whomsoever he's will, and set up over it the basis of men. And yeah, the basis of men being set up. That's the irony. Is imagine with Israel. With Israel, you've basically had have to be through that, I guess. With Israel, nah, not even with Israel. With the present kingdom, everyone's enraptured, thinking the so-called white man is you know, at the peak of capability, wisdom, you know, his kingdom, his rulership. You know, because there's iPhones, people think like, wow, could anything be even greater? You know, meanwhile, you know, everyone's depressed, quality of life, they're, you know, the money ain't even real. Imagine like with the stock market crash last week, you had over the course of a day where people could have just like seen the crash and been like, yo, this is done, and then just like cashed out their life savings. Man, might have lost like 60-70% on like stock they were holding, because it was all tech stocks that went down as well. And then they could have bought in when the stock was high anyway. There's all kinds of reason why they could have been like, yeah, I just lost that, and then they could check out and just think like, nah, this thing's done. Then come back the next day, it's all back up, and it's like, damn, I just fucking, you know, realized like 500k in losses. Well, that would have been fine if I waited like another day. That's that's how much of a hell this place is. But then people are gonna think that's a greatness. When you go to the ancient world, you had things that held value, through crises. That's the whole point of having those things. It's meant to hold value for crisis. With the what do you call that? With like the stock market, with how Esau plays with money with his unjust weights. It's basically confusion. The whole aspect of it is meant to be that you don't know how how these things work, how these things function, but then you have faith in it that there's money to be made off it, and that's a big part of it. Is people's faith in the system is what keeps it going. And then what Habakkuk 2:4 it says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith." And yeah, because the reason why there's a system set up that's not upright is because what the man who set up isn't upright either. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. Yeah, he can't be satisfied. Man's got the whole earth. Job 9:24 had the whole earth given into his hands. But even that's not enough. Man's thinking like, oh, okay, gonna go to Mars, gonna set up on Mars, gonna go onto other, man's thinking about establishing himself for eternity. Meanwhile, he's on the bottom, but then he's been given a rule. Man can't even, and then even how he's dealt with the rule. He's not even dealt with the rule in a way where it's something that can sustain himself and even survive in the long term. It's something that without intervention, everyone will be wasted. Everyone will be done. Man's corrupted the air, the water, food, things that are essential to survival, man. Even the family unit that's needed to maintain a society is baked into Esau's system that it's unsustainable. And that's it's a madness. But that's the standard, and that's kind of what people expect. So how is this guy's kingdom gonna continue if it's basically got that hard limit set on it? It says what shall not order and gathereth, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Yeah, and that's the thing is everyone's looking like, yo, all these nations are looking back at their history. They're thinking like, yo, we've all got a bone to pick with this guy. This guy has now set himself as the arbiter of justice, as the hero of truth and faith. But then, they're thinking like, you go back 60, 70 years, these men were doing the vilest acts. And some of them, is you don't even go back that far. They might have just been thinking like, in the 70s and 80s, these men did a madness on us. Like, but then once, all of a sudden, it's all righteousness and justice. But then, yeah, there's all these nations are basically smart to, what this man's about. Because what does it say? A woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And yeah, those heavy debts. That's a huge aspect of how the modern world works, that debt-based society. When you deal with the ancient world, you had a form of banking where they would actually have the resource. Like you would, even if you had like promissory notes, you would have the actual gold, the actual silver, the actual backing of something of worth and value. And then even when you'd barter you'd barter based on those things, and then you'd be bartering with. You might be like, okay, you've got a certain amount of wool, sheep, milk, cheese, goods. You'd have goods. And then you'd be trading them for something that's backed by something of actual worth. You're not just going to be like, okay, just give me a sheet of paper that says, I promise to pay imaginary money. And then by moving into that system, a debt-based system where it's not backed by actual hard resources, not backed by gold. That's why everyone started using the dollar as the global reserve currency, because basically it was meant to be all the other nations, rather than everyone having their own gold reserves and backing their own currency. There was more liberty with how they could play with the money to maintain that continual upward trend of their economy, by instead not having their currencies backed by gold, and then just keeping a stash of dollars that were backed by gold. But then, for the US, that didn't let them play with things as much as they wanted to as well. So there was a point where it was like everyone was using the dollar as a reserve note because it was backed by gold. Then the US was like, "Now we ain't backing it by gold either." And then what did that result in? It purely went just like pegging one imaginary number against another imaginary number. And that's why you have now where you've got like the US debt, where it's I know it's over 25 trillion. How much has it gone to? Because it might hit 30. Yeah, 35 trillion. So like, yeah, the US debt clock's gone over 35 trillion. And a lot of that was in very recent times, post 2020, post C-19, pandemic lockdown. All the money was loosed out there, that shot it even further into the abyss. And then all these things again, they come together with what? Come together with all these prophecies to show you like, oh, this guy's on his way out, man. The writing's on the wall. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. So yeah, because thou hast spoiled many nations, the remnant of them shall spoil thee. Yeah, all these different nations are like I said, they've got a bone to pick. They're looking back, they're thinking like, yo, we're fucked in the long term because of what these guys established and set up. We kind of have to hold, this fucked up situations because why? This guy set shit up how he set shit up. But then what does it say? Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity. And that's the thing is with all these things, is you go through the laws, it basically tells you how to live by, how to sustain yourself, how to not be corrupted, whilst establishing yourself. But then when we're dealing with Esau's system, it's the inverse of how it's been set up. Everything's been established in a way, focus on destruction, focus on confusion. And as such, this, it basically, it must needs be put to an end. Because now is what, the feet and 10 toes, man. Iron and miry clay. And then what with, the a big aspect of why everyone's so drawn into this system is that lifestyle, that capability to make money, to make a living that's far beyond these other kingdoms. When that falls into the background, then people will be like, wait, so what the fuck am I even, like, what's even going on? What the hell am I doing here? And they're gonna scoot back home, and then their vengeance is gonna overcome them, man. Because what you go into Revelation 19, I believe, it says that the kings basically agreed to be underneath America, underneath the US for a set period of time. But then once you know, that spirit gets taken off them, then they're just gonna be like, yo, fuck these guys. So it says, behold, is it not of the Lord Jehovah of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity? For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord Jehovah, as the waters cover the sea. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbour drink, that putteth his bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord Jehovah's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Yeah, shameful spewing. Because what that's the reality is with everything that Esau's established is basically pushed out a particular mindset, a particular viewpoint on the world that's been to their destruction. People have been turned from knowing even what nation they are. Man, I call them places Asia and Africa. Like that's what, you know, their what you call it was called, man. Their ancestors were called. But why? It's because they're all underneath that wine, man, that's been established by Esau, by the so-called white man. But then what it say? Shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory. It's all going to be exposed. The leg's going to be made bare. For the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. And yeah, that violence, that blood, is really on the baseline before it. Because it's a madness. The level of death and destruction, but then those things now are just kind of accepted. It's like, well, it just is what it is. Like it can't be avoided. It's why? Because they're under this system. And it was all done to build up and maintain the system. But yeah, you know, the bound's been set. And that's something that is not just, you know, observed, you know, by a few. It's everyone can kind of see. That's why you have these nations trying to be like, okay, let's try and, you know, and get one over. Let's try and get into the key position. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Yeah, Bashim Shah, Bashim Kakadash.